Hey, what's up? I saw this tweet by Jonah Green on Twitter to make a 10-minute, unedited, no audio, no edits, just pure authentic self into the camera. So here we are, right now, in this former present moment, and you're looking at me through the lens of something that's connected to the worldwide internet. There we go, there's the word graffiti. A lot has happened since I was going to upload this, in terms of the news and what's happened in Paris and Baghdad and Japan and Beirut, Lebanon, and a lot of places. So I recently watched Hank Green's video just talking about feeling compassion and for people and that interconnectedness of life and that grief and sharing in that feeling. So that's what I've been thinking about recently. And the other thing that I've been thinking about that I'd like to share with you in this 10-minute time slot that I have, which is going to seem a lot shorter than it will because I do enjoy talking, is this book by Leo Babauta. Babauta? His name is Leao. And my favorite part about this book is this part where it talks about how it's an uncopyright notice. All ideas in this book are stolen and therefore don't belong to me. The entire work is therefore uncopyrighted. No one has the right to deny the freedom of ideas. So there's a quote from, I want to talk a little bit about this book, but at the end of this book, there's a little, in this part, hard to see because that light's so bright, but I want some great lighting here. It's a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. He says, "Drink your tea slowly and reverently, as if it is the axis on which the world earth revolves. Slowly, evenly, without rushing toward the future." And the idea of embracing change and enjoying life to that point where you can do things at a pace that you enjoy them is sort of what peace feels like right about now. But the other thing I read for you too, in the time that I have this 7 long minutes to talk about something important and enlightening to change your life, but I don't have that expectation. It's called The Parable of the Forest. So a laborer is walking through a small forest from his home to the fields where he worked. He walked the same route out of routine, and the forest was constantly changing around him, but he didn't know the forest was changing because he didn't notice the impermanence. He was stuck in what this book loves to call the mind movie, and I'll explain what that means. One day a tree fell to block his path, and he became upset, so he kicked the tree with his foot, limping in pain from kicking this tree, from being reactive to a change. He looked around the forest, and he realized he'd allowed his fixed routine to make him angry, to make him resistant to the way things are, to not embrace change and growth. And it had stopped him from seeing the changing forest. His fixed path had killed the forest, not in reality, but in his mind. That's the power of the mind movie, the power of our expectations. Once he let go of this map, once he let go of the mind movie, once he let go of the image of his mind seeing reality, and he saw reality for what it was, he was able to explore the forest and really see it. He was free of fixed ideas. He found new possibilities for what the forest could be. And then suddenly, the fields where he worked became fields of possibilities, and he found work. He found joy in his family, in his kids, in his neighbors, in himself. Joy's not in things. It's in us. See, I would have edited that out, but I dropped the book. My point, I guess, with the mind movie is when thinking about impermanence and interconnectedness and how all human beings poop, everybody poops, how we're all connected intrinsically, we are forever never alone in that sense, but we are forever alone in the sense that we can only interpret reality as we have been conditioned. No one will have the same mindset and perspective I have, but Siren, we're all connected in that way because we're all human, and we're all lovable and worthy of value. So when I think about the point someone has to be conditioned to cause fear, to go down the path of fear and separation, and believing that you're not valuable and you're not worthy of love, and you're identified with an image, a mentality other than what you are, the mind movie in your head. You see who you are through how other people see you, through their thoughts. You see who you are through some sort of ideology. You put yourself on a pedestal to be more than what you are or less than what you are. you identify with some kind of content in your life, with some sort of fashion. You see fame as the path to greatness because you're identified with some sort of perfect ideal image that only exists in your head. When you lose the mind to look for reality, it's not there. That's delusion. When you don't use the mind to look for reality and you use the senses that you were given, that's called awareness. That's actually seeing reality for what it is. And my heartwarming thoughts and prayers and just depth of feeling goes out to the people that have been lost in this and what's happened in Paris, and standing by those ideals that Paris has now, and uniting together, not through always acts of war, because that's the path of fear, not through reactivity and anger and hate, but feeling compassion, empathy, love for all of existence, not just human beings, actually, even though a lot of the discourse and disharmony comes from human beings trying to kill each other, which in my mind is never a good thing. It's not. It's terrible. I think we, as a species, are getting better at this, getting better at being connected, and kind of decreasing the size of the world by using technology to understand our minds through science and understand each other and empathize and relate with one another as a species, and learn to master our minds and not let our minds master us. The mind's a great servant but a terrible master. And that's what I feel. That's my perspective on it. And I'm just one of however many billion, 7 billion people on the planet. I think intrinsically as a species we have an inherent want or desire, or whatever you want to call it, maybe inclination, maybe intuition, to connect with one another and raise each other up and help one another and cooperate. It's not natural for our species to hate and kill and get angry and demoralize and dehumanize and abstract, see people as numbers in the roles that they are. That's not natural for our species. And that's why it's not the majority. If it was the majority, we'd be in big trouble. But I do think as we progress and move forward, which I think is always a positive and optimistic and realistic direction, we are working towards something and better using technology as a tool for which to better understand the complexity of the world and to connect each other and to sort of raise the awareness of all human beings to think deeper and ask big questions. That's not an easy thing to do, and that's because if it was easy, like reacting and getting angry, like our minds always like to master us, it wouldn't be worth it. But I think it is worth it to really dig deep and think about fundamental life truths and communicate and empathize and have compassion for ourselves. My favorite analogy too is to hold the childish mind in your head and comfort it and guide it like it's a child that needs its hand held, instead of somebody getting so conditioned and so damaged and in so far into suffering that they see no other way out of suffering because they've been marred by 1,000 cuts, right? Man is marred by 1,000 cuts. They were so deep into it that they have this learned helplessness that they can't get themselves out of that situation. That's because somebody in the grips of that sort of mentality is so deep into suffering that a logical and sane person has no comprehension of that kind of mindset. And I think that's the path of fear. That's the path that extremely leads down toward fear and suffering, and then the eventual last effort in the projection of suffering, which is a shame and pity. So my hearts and prayers are with the victims, and I have compassion for the victims as well as compassion for the perpetrators and the damage that they've caused for themselves and for the people close to them. Because if you think about it, the perpetrators cause damage too when they leave. People like to think about it that way, but they probably do. So I hope you're all doing very well. Don't let your mind movie master you. This is my 10 minutes. I've got 30 seconds. Be humble, be grateful, be happy. That's my 3 H's. Be curious, be committed, be compassionate. Drive inward, drive outward in curiosity, drive forward with commitment. Those are my thoughts on this 10-minute, authentic, no edits, straight upload stream of consciousness. Yeah. Everybody Palka. 3, 2, 1. See ya.